And we are recording.
Hey.
Hi, Julie.
Hey, Drew, it's good to see you.
It is good to see you too in this weird COVID way of seeing people.
I know. I miss getting to see you in person, but I'm glad we're able to do this today.
Yeah, absolutely. So Julie and I were having a conversation this past week about hospitality, and so we thought we'd share that with you and just sort of talk about what hospitality looks like in this weird season with Thanksgiving coming up, and so many of us trying to figure out how to get together with friends and family to celebrate the holidays. So
Mhm.
I'm excited.
And this, I am too. And this really started from I shared a quote with you, Drew, that a clergy colleague of mine had said that has really got me thinking about how I have been approaching people during COVID. And I'm not going to get it exactly right, but it was something along the lines of right now showing true hospitality is meeting the needs of the least risk adverse, most risk adverse person in the room, the person who is being the most cautious in what they are doing to protect themselves and others from COVID. And that's a lot of words, but I took that as one of the ways that we are called to show hospitality is to say who is the person in the room who is either at the highest risk of getting COVID or who is being the most cautious in their precautions, and simply meeting them. So it looked like when you and I went for coffee last week and we were walking down the sidewalk and you had your mask on when I walked up, and knowing that you're more cautious about some of the things than I am, I said, would you like me to wear my mask while we walk? And you said sure, and it wasn't a big deal. And I think that that helped put you at ease because you didn't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I have to ask her to put a mask on, and it just felt normal, and then we just carried on. So I've been thinking about it in those sorts of terms.
Yeah, and absolutely. It was a tremendous act of sort of being on the receiving end of that because
Mhm.
nobody likes to start off a conversation with, "Hey, do you mind inconveniencing yourself?" Like it's not a good way to start. And so the fact that we take on and ourselves being proactive to ask what would make you comfortable,
Yep.
I just thought was a really helpful question because everybody has different levels of comfort.
Hmm.
Some people are comfortable being inside. Some people only want to be outside. Some people would rather Zoom call or call on the phone. Like each of us has different lines. And so adding that to the list of questions that we ask, I just thought was a really helpful thing.
And it's something that I'm trying to think about less in terms of what's going to inconvenience me and more in terms of how can I make the other person feel welcome in whatever activity, event, conversation we're involved in. It's kind of like I've served churches in lots of different places, and I always come back to Southern hospitality where you come to someone's house and they invite you to take a seat and they ask you what you'd like to drink or what you would like to eat, because the goal is to help the person who's coming in be comfortable so that you can enjoy your visit. And so thinking about it in terms of right now, comfort isn't so much about do you want a glass of iced tea? It's, should we have masks on? Would you rather eat outside? And that to me, I mean, your family is doing a great job of that. I love what you're doing with your space at your house.
Yeah, we actually just got through buying a fire pit for our front yard and some like cool lights. So like we now have this area where we can gather with friends at night as sort of the weather's been changing, and just
Mhm.
to be able to extend that,
Yep.
because that has been such a means of grace for our family to be able to have regular gatherings and to have friends over. They can't be inside, but we still have a space where we're able to welcome each other, which has been a real gift for us.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I'm thinking about some of the meals that I've had with friends where they're not ready to go into restaurants yet, or they're not ready to sit outside at a restaurant, but they're perfectly fine to take a picnic to the park. And, so sometimes hospitality looks like picking up a sub at Publix and bringing that and your chips and your drink and sitting down at Egan's Creek. But I think that the biggest part of hospitality is how are we staying connected? And what y'all are doing with your fire pit and your outside seating area is a great example of that, at your own comfort level.
And I think especially as people are trying to plan through Thanksgiving and what does that look like, I mean, just sort of being aware that this is going to be different. And think when we, rather than resisting that difference, we can embrace it to see, all right, what are ways we can do this better and
Yeah.
be more intentional about it, which is
Yeah.
hopefully a gift to us. And it's been a gift for our family.
Yeah. And that's been a gift. As we're trying to decide what we're going to do for Thanksgiving, I'm trying to think about how are we doing this safely, but how are we doing this so that we all still feel welcome. And that connection is the big piece. And that, how are we, even if you're the one who's going, how are you showing hospitality to your hosts by making it easy on them to host you?
And I just think that's exactly what Jesus modeled of every time
Mhm.
Jesus walked into a room, no matter who you were, no matter what you were feeling, you felt welcome. You
Yes.
felt welcome in Jesus' presence. And so I think this is learning to embrace those and to sort of create things in a different way helps us model that Christ-like hospitality.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And really, that's part of our call as Christians, is how are we called to model ourselves after Christ?
Well, Julie, thank you for giving me some new questions to engage with hospitality. I've been really thinking a lot about that since we talked, and I enjoy talking about it now.
Yeah, I have too. And thank you for inviting me to come be part of this conversation. I love the relationship that our churches have together, and the friendship that our staff all shares with one another. And so thanks for inviting me to come hang out with you and talk with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.